Well, hello, everybody. It's Ashley and Chloe. We are so excited to be with you today. We're going to talk all about events, programming, clinics, classes, open plays, whatever you call it at your facility. We're going to give you some great tips and tricks. And Chloe is a master of events. She helps so many people on our customer success team. So thanks, Chloe, for joining us today. You're still on mute. And hey, we're going to record this webinar. Give us a couple of hours. And Josh will actually put it up into the YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to the CourtReserve YouTube channel, it's a must. That way, when we do webinars, when we do new things, then we know that you guys can get updated and be alerted to when we're doing things. So without further ado, Chloe, let's get started.
Thanks, Ashley, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Just going to pull up my screen and we will jump right into it. All right, so first things first, we should define what is an event, right? So an event is going to be something that you want people to sign up for. So this can be really flexible. You can set up a bunch of different things as an event, but the characterizing thing of an event is that it's something that people sign up for. So if you want to block off your courts for a certain amount of time each day and have people sign up to be on them, that would go into the system as an event. So things that usually are set up as events are going to be round robins. If you do any open plays, maybe you have a summer camp, maybe you even do a special event once a month or every year or something like that. It's really flexible for what you can set up as events, but main thing to keep in mind is it's something that people can register for, and then you'll have a roster of people who have signed up for that event. So the first thing to cover with events is just going to be your event settings row, this teal row of settings about halfway down the page. So I'm just going to start off here with your event categories. This is just where you specify what kind of events you offer at your facility. So do you have round robins? Do you have mixers? Do you have open plays? Maybe you even have open plays that are split up based off of different rating. You could add those all into the system as different event categories. This can be things like a clinic or a larger group lesson. Super flexible for whatever you want to add in here. It's just a way for you to kind of categorize your events in a way that makes sense to you on the admin side, but also for your members as they're signing up for those. So all you need to do to add in your event categories is just go to create event category here. And then you're going to name that. So that could be, round robin. That could be open play, morning open play, afternoon open play, evening open play, anything like that. And then you can also choose the colors. The colors here are actually super helpful because some of your members might get really used to signing up for your open plays. Maybe they love your open plays and they know that your open plays are green. So then when they're on the member side looking at the calendar, they're just going to go right to those green events. So color coding your event categories is also a really helpful trick. If your event categories are going to go into certain revenue categories, if you process payments in the CourtReserve system, you can choose the revenue categories here, and you can also specify if there's going to be taxes for your event categories. So next, under the event settings row, I'm actually going to skip over defaults, and we'll revisit that at the end. We're going to skip over here to disclosures. Disclosures are a way for you to display some text or information to your members as they're signing up for the event. So maybe you want to remind them to get there 15 minutes early, or maybe you want to remind them to bring all of the gear that they're going to need. If you want to display a chunk of text to your members and then have a checkbox that they check on to say that they've read it, that could go into the system as a disclosure. You can enter in that information here under the disclosures page. And when you're going in and actually creating an event, I'll show you where you can actually attach that disclosure to your event. All right, and then the next thing underneath our event settings row are waivers and agreements. This is only going to show up if you do use that waivers and agreements add-on. So if you don't see this in your organization, it's just because you don't have that add-on turned on. But waivers and agreements, this is a way for you to actually attach a waiver, so something that people have to sign onto your event. So similar to a disclosure, but the waivers is something that people will actually sign. When you're creating a waiver or agreement for your events, you do not want to set up a signing rule for those, because if there's a signing rule, then you're not going to be able to attach it to your event. So if you have, for example, maybe you have a summer camp with kids and you need the parents to sign a waiver for their kids to be in that camp, you would add that in under waivers and agreements, but don't add a signing rule to that. And again, I'll show you where you can actually add those into your events once we get to the event setup. All right, and then next under event settings is going to be your custom fields. Custom fields are a way for you to add some additional information that you want your members to provide when they're signing up for the event. So for example, maybe you have an event where you're going to give people a t-shirt if they participate. A custom field that you might add on for that event would be please provide your t-shirt size or something like that. You would create the custom field here, and then at the event setup level, you can choose whichever custom fields you want to attach to your certain events. Next, we have event sessions. This is just a way for you to kind of further categorize your events for reporting purposes. So maybe you want to run reports on all of your events and see which events fell into certain times of the year, or maybe you want to see, which events have the most participation based on time of the year. Then your event sessions might be the seasons. You could also have different sessions for things like your open plays. Maybe you have different sessions based on rating, or summer camps. Maybe you have different sessions based on age. Event sessions are optional, but they are just a way for you to kind of further categorize your events if you're interested in doing so. And then lastly, we have event tags. Tags are basically a way for you to market your events. These tags are going to show up on the member side whenever someone is looking to register for an event. They'll see this little tag show up under the event name. So it's just a way for you to kind of mention some keywords relating to the events, just to kind of grab people's attention and get them interested in those events. So examples of what you might have in here as event tags, maybe you have certain events that are geared towards beginners or intermediate players or advanced players. Maybe you have a summer camp and you want to advertise that that's for kids. Those are just some examples of what you might use as event tags. All right, so next is going to be how to actually go into the system and create an event. So this is going to be underneath events on the left sidebar, and then create event here. First things first is going to be to name your event. So this is just what the event is for, and you're going to want to make this pretty specific so that members know what it is that they're signing up for. So maybe, for example, you have a summer camp and it's just going to be for ages 8 to 10. Then you would call this, summer camp session 1, ages 8 to 10, something like that. Just something so that your members understand what it is that they're signing up for in the event name. Next is the event category. This is where you say which category that event falls into. Tags, this is where you would attach those tags that we just talked about if you want to further advertise the event and have any of those tags show up. And same thing with session. If this event falls into a specific session that you've specified, you can choose whichever one that is here. Underneath maximum registrants, if you have events that are going to be capped at a certain number of people, so maybe you only have space for 8 people in an event, then you can specify that here. And once the event reaches 8 registrants, no one else is going to be able to sign up. If you specify a maximum number of registrants, this is going to give you the ability to allow a waitlist if you wanted to. So if the event is full and you allow a waitlist, now people can start signing up for the waitlist. And if a spot were to open up in the event, so if one of the registrants in the event's canceled out, then everyone who has registered onto the waitlist, they would get an email letting them know that a spot has opened up. That email will include a link where they can just go right to that event and claim their spot. It's going to be first come, first serve if you just choose allow waitlist. Now, if you chose this option, auto register from waitlist, this means that if a spot opens up in the event, whoever was registered onto the waitlist first is automatically going to be bumped into the event and the spot is going to be theirs. So turning on auto register from waitlist, this takes into account the order of the waitlist versus having this off. It's going to be first come, first serve. Whoever on the waitlist gets there first gets the spot. With auto register from waitlist turned on, we have a couple additional settings here. So prevent auto registration X hours before event. This is where you say how far before the event you want people to no longer be auto-registered. So a best practice piece of advice here would be to set this to something like 12 or 24 hours so that people are not being automatically bumped into the event really close to the event start time, because maybe people knew that they were still on the wait list, so they didn't plan on actually being at the event. So if they're getting bumped in last minute, maybe they're not going to be there, right? So usually we would see this set to something like 12 hours, 24 hours, maybe even more than that, just to give people enough time to plan and know, hey, now I'm in this event, I can kind of move my schedule around and be there. This choice, auto charge if payment profile exists. This will charge the player as they get bumped into the event, as long as they have a payment profile on their account. And then allow family members to be individually registered. If you don't turn this on and a spot opens up in the event and 2 members of the same family are on the wait list, it's actually going to skip over the first person in the family who's on the wait list because there's not room for both of them. So if you want both family members to be able to be auto-registered into the event, then you want to leave this setting unchecked. If you don't care about that and it doesn't bother you if one family member is going to get in off the wait list and one family member is not, then you can turn this setting on. So just to go back up here a little bit, override hours of operation. If your event is set to happen during a time when your organization normally isn't open, so maybe you have an open play that happens really early in the morning or really late at night, you can override your hours of operation so that you can choose the start and end time in these categories here. Obviously, event date, start and end time, that is when the event is happening. Underneath recurrence, this is a really helpful setting if you have a situation where you have an event that has multiple event dates. Instead of having to create an individual event for every time the event is going to happen, we can just set up the event to reoccur. And you can set this to reoccur daily, weekly, monthly, or at a custom frequency. And when you set that recurrence, you can say, okay, I want this to happen every week on these specific days of the week. And then you'll tell the system how many times you want that to happen. So end event after X number of dates. Or if there's a specific calendar date that you want the recurrence to stop by, you could specify that here. But this is really just going to create the event on each of those dates that you've set this up to reoccur. Going to make your life a lot easier on the admin side of yours as you're setting this up so that you don't have to create individual events on every single time that the event is supposed to happen. Exception dates, for example, if you have a recurring event and one of the event recurrences is set to happen on a holiday and your organization is closed on that day, you can choose that day underneath the exception dates and the event will just skip right over that day. It won't happen on that date. So next we have allow registrants to register for single dates. This is if your event has more than one date, do you want people to be able to go in and pick and choose whichever event dates they want to sign up for? This setting allow registrants to register for all dates. If you turn that on, it's going to give them the option to register for the entire event at one time. So maybe you have an event that has 10 different dates. If you turn this option on, your members are going to be able to choose register for full event, and that will automatically sign them up for all 10 dates so that they don't have to go in and register 10 times into the event. Allow waitlist we already covered. Event instructors, if you're going to have one of your instructors or pros or coaches be teaching a specific event, you can add them to the event here. And then that's actually going to block off the instructor scheduler. And the system is going to know that they're already booked on this event. So they won't be able to be added to any lessons during that time. And if you want to show the name of the instructor who's assigned to the event, we would just turn this on display instructors on the member portal. Coordinators, if you use event coordinators at your facility, coordinators are just a version of subadmin who are going to have specific permissions into certain events. Then you can add them in here, and then they'll have their set of permissions for this specific event where they are the coordinator. Court types and courts. The system is actually going to let you create an event without filling out this information. But if you know which courts your event is going to be happening on, it's really important that you choose them here and that you assign them to this event. Because if you don't, then the system isn't going to know to block off any of your courts. And someone might make a reservation or they might schedule a lesson on the court during the time when the event is supposed to happen. If you assign the courts when you're creating the event, then the system will know to block off those courts so that nobody else can book them during that time. Same thing with the ball machine. If you have a ball machine or a resource that you want to schedule with the event, you could add it here. Prevent member from withdrawing from event within this amount of time. This is just going to say how far before the event starts are people allowed to withdraw or cancel out of the event. Best practice that I might see here would be at least more than an hour, just because from an instructor standpoint, you kind of don't want people withdrawing last minute, especially if, the instructor is going to be planning out drills or something like that based on a certain number of people. You just don't want kind of last minute changes to the event. So I would see at least an hour here. At the end of the day, it is up to you and your organization. That's just something that I see a lot. If you have a specific note that you want to communicate on the admin side, you can add that in here. And then this is where we would add in those custom fields that we talked about towards the beginning of the presentation. If you have any custom fields that you want to attach to the event, so say this is the event where you're giving out a t-shirt and you want people to specify their t-shirt size, then you would choose that event registrants custom field here. And then when members are signing up for the event, they would be prompted to fill out that information before they're able to register. Down here at the bottom, we have the event setup tab. As you can see, this is all split up based off of the membership types that you have in your system. So if you have events that are going to be only available to certain membership types, or maybe you charge certain membership types more to register for an event than you do your others, then that's all possible because all of these settings are split up based off of membership type. So first we have drop-in price. Drop-in price is going to be the price for one single event date. So if you have a recurring event, drop-in price is what is the price for just one of those event dates. And then full event price is if someone is registering for all of the dates at once, if they're using that full event registration option, this would be the price for the entire event. Another best practice recommendation here, a lot of organizations might provide a little bit of a discount if people are registering for the full event, just to kind of promote the event and get more people to sign up for all of the dates. So something that we sometimes see organizations doing is providing a little bit of a discount, a discounted price versus the sum of just all of the drop-in prices. Is public means that your members are going to be able to see that event from the member side. Allow online registrations means they're actually going to be able to sign up for that on the member side. So sometimes what organizations will do is they will make the events public, but if they're not ready for people to sign up for the event yet, then they might not turn on allow online registrations until closer to the event. Hide pricing, if you don't want to show the price of your event for whatever reason on the member portal, you can turn on hide pricing and members will not see how much that event is going to be. If you process payments on the CourtReserve side, then you're going to have these two options for require upfront payment. If you turn this on, that's going to give members a 15-minute window of time where they have to sign up for the event and then enter in their payment information. If they don't pay for the event within that 15-minute window of time, their registration is going to be canceled. So this just requires that people essentially are paying for the event as they're signing up for it. Require payment profile means that they have to have a credit card saved onto their account in order for them to even sign up for the event. Requires approval. If someone signs up for an event that requires approval, you'll see a little red dot next to the to-do tab here, and you'll be able to click on this and see all of your event registrations that have requested approval, and you can go in on the admin side and either approve or decline those people. So an example of when you might use requires approval is maybe you have an event where they had to have participated in something else before they're able to participate in that event. So maybe they needed to have taken a beginner's clinic before they're able to sign up for this event that you're creating. That might be an example of a situation where you would require approval. You can check their account, make sure that they've already participated in that thing and decide if they are going to be eligible to participate in this event or not. Drop-in registration starts. Maybe you're being really proactive and you're creating your events way far into the future, but you don't want people to sign up for them just yet. You can open up registration for the events based on the event start time. So maybe you want to open up registration 1 month before the event starts, or you can choose a specific calendar date when you want all of those events to open up for registration. And then same thing, drop-in registration and full registration. This is just drop-in registration when people can start signing up for single event dates. Full registration is the same thing, just when can people start signing up for the entire event. And then we have registration ends before event. So maybe you want to lock down the roster of people who have signed up for an event a certain amount of time before it starts. Again, just to give your instructors time to plan ahead. Registration ends before event. This is where you would enter in how far in advance do you want people to be able to sign up? And then what's the window of time before the event starts that people can no longer sign up? That's the number that you would fill out here. And then lastly, we have show registrants. This option is going to show the names of people who have already signed up for the event on the member portal as other members are looking at the event. So a lot of times organizations will turn on show registrants for something like an open play. So maybe people want to see who else has signed up so they can determine, okay, my buddies are already signed up, I'm going to sign up as well. Last thing I want to point out on this specific screen is going to be this option all the way down at the bottom for public embed codes and widgets. This is what your members are going to see if you are sending them a link to this specific event Or if you're using any of our widgets, our event list widget or event calendar widget, this is what determines what members who are viewing the event from those places are going to see. So if a member is looking at one of your event widgets, this is determining, is that event public from the event widget? Are people allowed to sign up for it? What's the price that they see from there? And so on and so forth. So this setting can be a little confusing to people. It's only relevant if you're going to be using event widgets or if you're going to be sending anyone an embed code of an event that's already created. So next, under the description tab, this is pretty straightforward. This is just where you would explain some of the details of an event. You might say what's planned at that specific event, just some more information for your members so they have a better understanding of what it is that they're signing up for. Underneath registration restrictions, this is where we can set up if you want an event to have certain criteria in order for people to sign up for it. So for example, maybe you want to have a ladies only open play. You could set this up to be gender restricted for females only. And then anyone who's trying to sign up who does not match this restriction, they wouldn't be able to sign up for the event. And the same thing goes for any of these other restrictions. You can restrict based off of age, rating, and member groups. So maybe you have a summer camp, again, like I mentioned at the beginning of all of these settings, maybe you're setting up a summer camp that's only for children ages 8 to 10. You could set a minimum age restriction of 8 and a max age of 10, and anyone who falls outside of that age range would not be able to sign up. This option up here, hide event if member does not match restrictions. If you turn that on, then any events that people don't match the restrictions for, they're not even going to be able to see them. So this kind of helps avoid confusion. Maybe if you don't have this on, someone might be clicking on an event and being confused why they can't sign up, and it's just because they don't meet the restrictions. If you want to avoid that confusion and just not even show the events that people aren't eligible for, then you can turn this setting on. So underneath the waivers tab, this goes back to what we covered at the beginning. If you set up an event waiver underneath the event settings row, then you're going to be able to choose that waiver here and assign a specific waiver to your certain event. This is really popular, again, for something like a summer camp where the parents have to sign the waiver for their kids to be able to participate in this. Underneath guest setup, if you turn on allow guests here, that's going to bring up these other settings where you can say how many guests are allowed for each event date, as well as which membership types you want to be able to bring a guest to this event. And all this means is just that a player who is signing up and registering themselves for the event, they're going to be able to bring a guest if they want to. And a guest refers to someone who does not have any membership in your organization. They're a true guest. They're not in your organization at all. Turning on these settings would allow a member to sign up and also bring a guest along with their registration as well. And then you can also specify the pricing for the guests, as well as how many guests a specific membership type is able to bring. And then lastly, underneath the additional setup tab, we have a couple different options here. Just going to point out the biggest ones. Disclosure, this is where if you set up a disclosure under the event settings, you could attach it into the event here. Revenue category, again, if there's a specific revenue category that you want this event to go into, you could specify that here. Hide event on event list and calendars. If for whatever reason you've gotten this all set up, but you just don't want it to show up yet on the information on the member side, you could turn this on. And then one of the biggest, most important settings, or I guess I should say one that I get the most questions on in support, is what system users receive notifications for this event. This is defaulted to all system users, which means that anyone who's in your system as an admin or sub-admin is going to be notified anytime anyone signs up for the event. That's potentially a lot of emails. So what I suggest here is switching this from all system users to just assigned instructors only. And that's just going to notify the instructor on the event when someone has registered. So if you are an admin and you're seeing this and you're like, I always get 100 million emails that someone has signed up for an event, it's probably coming from this setting. Double check your events and just make sure that this is a set to assigned instructors only, or maybe just admins only or specific system users. There's a couple different choices here, but I would highly suggest switching it off from all system users because that's just going to be a lot of emails for everyone who is a system user in your organization. So that's all our information on how to actually go in and create an event. Next, I just want to show you what it's going to look like once you have an event in the system. So there's a couple different ways that we can view the events that you've already set up. Underneath events on the left here, we can go into your event list. This obviously is just going to be a list view of all of the events that you have set up in your system. And if you click on the event name, it's going to open up and bring you to the information for that specific event. So just want to go over a few things on this page. So general info, this is where you're going to see all of the settings that we just covered when you're setting up the event. So if you need to edit anything like the event start time or end time, anything like that, you could do that under the general info tab. Underneath the dates tab, this is where you're going to see all of the upcoming occurrences for the event. So this one that I'm showing as an example, this has a lot of upcoming dates. So underneath the dates tab, if you just press the little plus sign here, it's going to show you the information about who's registered for that specific event date, as well as who might be on the wait list, who's canceled out. If you require approval for the event, this will show you if there's anyone still pending approval. And then if you charge for the event, you're going to be able to see a list of the transactions. So you'll be able to see who's paid and who's unpaid. Another thing to point out here is this is where you can register players. So if for whatever reason you have to sign up a member from the admin side, we would do that underneath register players here. And when I click on that button, it's going to show me all of the upcoming dates of the event, and I can pick and choose whichever ones I want to register that player into. Up here at the top, it's also going to give me a breakdown of what the pricing is. So if you need to reference the pricing when you're signing someone up, it will show for you up here as well. You also will have this option to override the event price for specific members. So if you're signing someone up and you're giving them a discount for whatever reason, you can override their event price here as you're signing them up. And then down here at the bottom, this is just where we search for the name of the player that we want to sign up. We'll just search for their name here, and we will see the little register button, and we'll be able to sign them up for the event. So that's how you would register players in if you ever need to do that from the admin side. And then same thing, if you have events that have a maximum capacity and you're allowing a waitlist, you can also add members to the waitlist from here as well. You can cancel the entire event. Be very careful of this button. If you want to cancel a single event date, I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So this button is going to cancel the whole event. So be very careful with this button. And then add event date here. That's where, for example, maybe you have something come up and you're able to open up the event for one more date. You could add it in here. This copy button at the top, this is going to be super helpful for you on the admin side. If you press this button, it's going to create a new event for you with all of the same settings that you already had set up for the event that you just copied. So for example, maybe you had a special event that was really popular last month. You could go into the event calendar from last month and just go in and copy that event. And all you would have to do is just edit the event start and end time as well as the date. That way you don't have to worry about going in and creating all of the same setup settings that you did for the original event. Audit log, this is also a really great tool for you on the admin side. If you ever want to keep track of if there were any edits made to the events, you could see that information. You can also see the admin or the sub-admin who did that. And then you can also see information on when certain members signed up, as well as if they did that from the admin or the member side. So audit log is a really helpful tool just to kind of give you some more information about the events. And then the last thing here, just want to point out some of these options over here on the right. This X button, this is how you would cancel a single event date. So again, be really careful of this button. This would cancel all of the event dates versus this option next to a specific event date. So here I'm next to Wednesday, August 21st. This X button next to this date would just cancel this specific event date. And then if you needed to edit a specific event date and not the entire event, you can also do that using this little edit button, and it will let you change things like the courts for that specific date, or maybe you need to change the time for whatever reason. This is going to allow you to edit that specific event date that you're looking at. So the event list is one way for you to see all of your events that you have in the system. I personally prefer the events calendar. So this is under events on the left and then calendar. This is just a better visual view of all of your upcoming events that are coming up. And again, you can see this is color coded. So for example, maybe all of your members really like to sign up for the open plays. You might just get really used to going in to those pink tiles or whatever color they are for you and your organization. So it's the color coding is just a really helpful tool both on the admin side and on the member side. But basically, off of the events calendar, you're able to just click on one of these tiles and you can go in and edit event, and you'll see all of those same options that we just saw from the event list as well. So general info, dates, and the transactions tab as well. All right, so the next thing that I want to cover are your event defaults. So I'm going to revisit our event settings options here and go into the defaults. So events defaults, this is a really helpful tool to use on the admin side if you have an event setup that's going to be common across all of the events that you add into the system. So for example, anything that you turn on this page will automatically be turned on for you whenever you're going in and creating a new event. So if you always allow your events to be public and you always want to allow people to sign up for them online, when you turn those on here under the event defaults page, they're automatically going to be turned on for you for all of the new events that you create in the system after that point. Again, what system users receive notifications for this event, you can change this default. You can change this to assign instructors only so that we avoid that issue that I mentioned before where all of your system users are getting notified every time someone signs up for an event. If you change this under your event defaults option, then you won't have to change that every single time you create a new event. So definitely utilize the event defaults page if you do have an event setup that's going to be pretty common across all of the events that you're adding in to your system. All right, and then just another thing that I want to point out here is event filters. So this is going to be underneath your portal settings and your website settings, and then event filters tab up here at the top. Event filters are just a way for you to kind of break down your events for your members on the member side. Whenever we create an event filter, I'll show you this in just a second from the member portal, but it's going to give them those options to click right into your fitness events or right into your open plays. So it's really just kind of a shortcut for your members to get in and view the specific events that they like to see. So if you're interested in creating an event filter, we would just go to create event filter here. You would name this whatever you want that dropdown name to be for your members on the member side. So probably a really common one that we would see is an event filter specifically for open plays, just because people really like those. Maybe you create an event filter for summer camps. So parents just have to go to that summer camps option and they don't have to dig through all of your events to find the ones that they want. Underneath categories, that's where you would say whichever event categories you want to show up under that event filter. You can also create event filters for tags or events that are happening on certain days of the week, even a certain date or time of day. I would say the most popular thing that people use when creating event filters is definitely categories, but you do have a lot of different choices here if you do want to make a bunch of different event filters for your members. And just to give you a visual of what this will look like on the member side, if I flip over here to my member portal, any event filters that you create and show on the member portal are going to show up for your members underneath the events dropdown here. For some reason, my website is taking just a second to load. I have a picture in there, so I think it just doesn't really want to show my picture. But anyway, it would show up for you underneath the events dropdown. Whichever event filters that you create, they will show up there, and it will be a really quick way for members to get in and access the event filters that they want. So now it's showing if I go into events here, I've created an event filter for my fitness events and for my open plays. When they click on that, it's just going to be filtered down for them to be the events that fall into that category. So that's a really good thing to use to just kind of simplify the member experience on the member side. And then while I'm over here, I'll just give you a little bit more information going over what your members are going to see where they're trying to sign up for an event. So your members are going to go right in under the events dropdown. They are going to access your events however they want to. I would say probably most members are going to go right into events list just because it's first here. And when I click on that, it's just going to pull up all of your events that are upcoming. They will see the register button for any of the events that they are eligible to sign up for. When they click on register, they're going to be able to see if there's upcoming dates. They can pick and choose whichever dates they want to sign up for. And then one other thing to point out here is if you have members who are part of a family, then the parents or the primaries on the account can also sign up the other members of their family as well. So for example, maybe you do have a summer camp, your primaries on the account are going to be able to go in and sign up the kids. The kids are not going to have to sign themselves up. The parents can sign up the children for them or anyone else in their family as well. So that's a really helpful tool. All right, so that is everything that I had to cover today, going over events and best practices. Ashley, we can go ahead and open it up for questions at this time.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So the first question, I want to allow members to sign up for 8 hours before I open to guests for them to sign up. Could you show that?
Sure. So we want members to be able to sign up for a period of time before guests are able to sign up. So
Yes.
I'm assuming that we're talking about a guest membership type here, because otherwise there isn't going to be a way to necessarily do that for if we're allowing a true guest on the event. But I will show you how to do that for if you have a guest membership type in the system. So if you wanted to do that, we're going to use the drop-in registration start setting down here underneath the event setup. And because this is split up based on membership type, then you're going to be able to say, okay, I want this membership type to be able to register 1 week in advance for you. If this is down to the hour, you can also specify by hour as well. But you can say, okay, this membership is able to sign up this far in advance. And then this membership type is able to sign up further in advance or something like that. So you can set this up where people can register for the event at different times based off of the membership type that they have on their account.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. The next question, could we set up a withdrawal charge? For instance, a patron signed up for an event, paid $50. They withdraw the day before the event, they would get charged a $10 fee. So they would only get $40 back in credit or a refund. Could the charge be a percentage instead of a flat amount?
Good question. So at this time, there isn't a way for someone to automatically be charged if they're withdrawing from an event. If you're going to charge them an extra fee because they withdrew, then that's going to have to happen manually from the admin side. A lot of times what I'll see organizations doing is they will prevent members from withdrawing for the event a certain amount of time before it starts. If you're preventing members from withdrawing, then what they have to do if they want to cancel is actually reach out to you on the admin side. And then because you're going to be the one on the admin side who has to cancel them out of the event, whenever you're doing that, you'll be able to go in and post that fee right onto their account. I'll just pull up my account super fast to show you what that would look like. If you're canceling them out of the event, then you would just go in under their billing tab and you could just go right here to post fee. And then this is also going to give you the control over how much you want that to be. So if you want it to be a certain percentage, you can figure that out here and post that fee right to their account. But right now, there isn't a way to set that up to happen automatically. It does have to happen manually from the admin side.
Yeah, and I would also say, Deanne, that if you've already charged that member and you're going to have to refund them or give them a credit, then when you go in to do the refund, you can also just not give them the entire amount of the fee. You can keep, $10 of that for sure. And she's got it pulled up here as well.
Yep. So anyone who cancels out of the event who had already paid, you can just straight up refuse their refund so that you're keeping their payment for the event, even though they canceled. Or when you go in to accept, you can choose how much it is that you actually want to refund them back. So if they're only going to get a partial refund, you can edit that underneath the refund amount. And you can also put a refund note in there as well so they know what's going on.
Yeah, that's great. Deanne also has another question. If I reschedule an event, do patrons enrolled in the event automatically get notified of the date and time change?
Yes, they should. They should receive an email about that.
Yep. And don't forget, Deanne, you can also go down to notifications where you can set up those players. See where Chloe's on the screen now. And you can actually go in and you can dictate emails, text, and push what's going to go out of the system when it comes to rescheduling events and changing event information.
Yep. And this is the one that will go out. It's the event reschedule notice.
All right. Another question. Let's see. Can you set up recurring events with multiple start times for the same event? For example, Saturday at 9, Sunday at 2.
Yes. I would not necessarily recommend doing that though, because what you would have to do in order to make that work is you would have to create the event and the recurrence. And it's only going to give us one choice for the start and end times as we're creating the event. if one of the recurrences or one of the certain days of the recurrence is a different time, then after the event is already created, you would actually have to go into each individual event date that's going to be different and adjust the time there. So usually what I suggest for people who want to do that is just create two separate events for the two separate times. So maybe you have one that's Saturday from whatever time, 9 to 10, and then Sunday from 1 to 2, just because of the different, that way you don't have to go in and edit all those individual event dates and edit the start times for those.
Yeah, and while you're there on the screen, I wanted to mention too, if you don't know, Tim and I opened up Old Coast Pickleball, and when we go to actually create tags, we actually put emojis in our tags, just to even make them more fun and creative, especially on the mobile side. You could just hit the Windows key. I'm on a Windows device. I don't know if what's your shortcut on a Mac, Chloe?
I honestly don't even know.
So like if you did summer camp, we could put a little sunshine when you create the tag. So you can't do it there, but if you go create a new tag, Chloe, like create like fitness or something when you go to create a new tag. And so if you go to create the tag and just put in fitness, and then what we do is you can also attach an emoji there, and it shows up on the app, and it is really just a way to make people visually see different things. So if we have an advanced clinic, we put the little muscle arm up. So you can just have a lot of fun with that too. If you want to see what some of those tags look like, you can actually go out and download the Old Coast Pickleball app. In the App Store, iPhone or Android, and you can kind of see some of our tags. We just try and keep it fun. And for some of you, that might be a really cool addition to what you're trying to do for your players.
Awesome.
All right. Any other questions? Wow, it's pretty quiet. Chloe, you must have knocked it out of the park today. We'll give you guys just another minute to answer any other questions or to ask any other questions. Again, events is something that I mean, I love events and programming. Did you show them where they can actually change the word event to programming?
Oh, that's a great thing to point out, actually. That'll be, I believe, I guess we're going to find out in just a second. It should be under organization settings, and
Yep.
then I think it's general.
Yep. Yep.
And then down here at the bottom, alternate name for event. So if you call that something different at your organization, if you call that programming or clinics or something, you can change that here. And then anywhere that you were seeing that events wording before, it would be changed to whatever you enter in there.
Yep. A lot of people I've seen change those. So, okay, we got a couple more questions. Great. Let's see. Is there a way to check people in at the time of the event on the app?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
there is. I am gonna have trouble probably getting to the app view right now, so I'll show you the visual on the admin side, but it'll be super similar to what you are seeing on the app. But basically, your instructors or whoever's going to be doing that, they will pull up the event right on their app. They're going to go in, and when they go into the event details or to edit the event, they're going to see the option to check them in right from there. But if you're doing this over on the admin side, if you go into the dates tab and we just extend this, I'll have this check-in option. So it is available on the desktop version. It is also available over on the app side as well. It should be, I think it's a green button, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And just so you guys know, I think we are actually as a company looking at almost some kind of like geo check-in. So if your members, players, if they get within a certain amount of distance to the club, it will automatically kind of check them in. Now, don't quote me on that. I know this is being recorded, but we are looking at some really cool features like that because data is powerful. But if you don't check people in, then how do you know they show up? So I love the check-in feature. You can also collect payment on the app. So your instructors, your directors, you guys can collect that on the app. I think we have some screenshots, Betsy, of what this looks like. So if you actually reach out to live chat support and ask for screenshots, just say, Ashley asked me for screenshots. I'll find those and then I can send them to you. If you're interested, let us know. So another question for summer camps. Is it best to have parents sign up under a family membership? Oh, that's a good question. What have you seen, Chloe, for summer camps? Like, hey, I want my kids to be signed up. How have you seen some best practices around that?
Yeah, a lot of times I will see a primary family member have an account in the system and then just have their children connected to them underneath the same family. So they don't necessarily need to have an actual family membership, but as long as they are connected to each other underneath the family tab, then the primary family member can go into the system and they're going to be able to register anyone else who's in the family. So that's definitely what I see a lot of organizations doing, just because, if they have little kids, they don't want the kids to have their own login. And it's just easier for the parent to go in and choose those summer camp dates that they want to sign their child up for. And also with that, if you do restrict the summer camps to certain age ranges, even though the parent obviously is not going to match those age ranges, they are going to see it still for their child because someone in their family matches the restriction. They're just going to make sure that they have to choose the family member who does match those restrictions in order to sign them up. Sometimes the parent forgets to say that they're registering their child and the parent tries to sign up and then they get the error that they're not eligible. But if you do restrict your events based on age, the parents will still be able to sign up the children, even though the parent doesn't match the age restriction.
Yeah, definitely. And we just came out with the ability for waivers. And so at the event level, so you can add a summer camp waiver at the event level. And so that's also really good. Any other questions? Let's see here.
I see this one in the chat, Ashley, about the programs is plural. So when you're changing the name of your event, anyone who's doing that, it automatically makes it plural. I totally forgot to mention that. So you're going to want to make this the singular, and then the system will automatically make that plural. So for you guys, you would want this to say program, and then the system would automatically make that programs.
Yes, excellent. We have another. Oh, wow, we've got some questions over there too. Okay, so let me see Isabella's question here. Let's see. When rescheduling a class, we're able to select a different date. It doesn't allow us to change the time. Do we have to change that manually? Let's see. For example, a beginner class today, Wednesday at 1 o'clock, is canceled due to rain. We reschedule it and have the makeup on Thursday at 2 o'clock. If we if we click the reschedule button on the class, it allows us to change the date, but not the time. Is there a way to change the time so that players can be informed of the correct date and time with the automated email?
That's a good question. I don't think there's a way to change the actual time as you're doing the reschedule button. I think you can just change the date, and you would have to change the time after the date has already been changed. But I see how that could be a little confusing with that notification that send out. But yeah, I don't think there's a way to change the time at the reschedule button level, at
Oh,
least.
yeah, I love that, Isabella. So what I'll do is I'll take this back to the product team and see if we can make a change to also be able to modify that time, because I do think that that's very valid. Absolutely. All right, the next question. Do you set up a person as a guest if membership is not required to participate in an event, program, or camp?
Can you read that one for me one more time,
Yep.
Ashley?
Do you set up a person as a guest if a membership's not required? So if they're not a member of your facility, then I would have a guest or a non-member membership, and that way you can still require them to sign your waiver, to charge them differently, because maybe your non-members guests pay a different fee than your members, for sure, for events and programs and camps. So yeah, I would definitely set them up, because again, think about it like this, Cheryl. If I have a non-member that's in my community that comes and participates in classes or clinics and they love it, maybe we can eventually, market to them, email to them, use text or push, right, and get them to be a member in the future. So I would definitely set them up as a non-member guest, even if membership's not required. Let's see, Darian, how do we change the setting to disable the pay online option for our events? So let's see, Chloe. I'm guessing, Darian, you're talking about disable the pay online. So you don't want people to pay for your events. Maybe just show where they can set pricing.
Yeah, so I would say Probably what's most helpful here would be to hide the pricing in the first place. So that way people aren't even getting confused about having to pay for the event. But also if you don't have require upfront payment turned on, then they're still going to be able to sign up for the event without having to pay for it at the time that they're signing up. So I would definitely utilize those two settings, not having require upfront payment turned on and also having hide pricing turned on as well.
Yeah, that's good. Let me see here. Oh, we got it right. Awesome. Thank you, Darian. Let's see. For a series of paid clinics, can you cover the difference in how refunds are triggered between using cancel for one day and then adding a rain date versus reschedule to add the rain date? Okay, hold on. Let's read this again. For a series of paid clinics, can you cover the difference in how refunds are triggered using cancel for one date, but I guess then adding a rain date versus using reschedule to add the rain date? Did you get that, Chloe?
Sort of.
Okay.
I would say for whoever asked that one, I'll do my best right now to answer that for you,
Right.
but that might be a really good support ticket if you have an example of that, because it, based on the wording of that question, it sounds like we would need to just like see an example of what happened there. But just to kind of give you some information that maybe will answer your question, whenever you are canceling an event date and you're not rescheduling it, if you're canceling an event date that someone has already paid for, the system is automatically going to refund them, because if they've already paid and you're canceling the date, it's going to trigger a refund to be given out to them. So that's going to happen. I think the question here though is like, what if you do cancel an event date, but then you add another one in? Obviously that's going to change the pricing of the event. So I don't know if I'm answering this very well. I would say that would be a good support ticket if you have an example of that happening, and we can take a closer look kind of and work through that in your specific organization where that's happening.
Yes, that would be good. All right, let's see. VJ has a question for us. Let's see. Not sure if this question is off topic regarding family memberships. How do we restrict members to a max number and also ensure there are only 2 adults plus 3 kids? We have found more than 3 adults joining. VJ, oh, that's terrible. Somebody trying to cheat the system. Well, it's kind of off topic, but we don't have any. Okay, so we can answer this really quick. So right now, if you go to memberships, you can actually, Chloe can kind of show us where you can set up your membership to have a max number of family members, but then it's not going to max the adults versus kids. So
Yeah,
that's,
there's not really a way to do that at this time,
yep.
just at the max.
Yep. So I guess really watching your folks, you can definitely do age, a membership restricted by age. So you might have to think of an interesting way if you do have a lot of people trying to game the system, maybe have that's interesting. It's a great product feature, BJ, in the future where you could set it up to allow only so many adults to be on a membership. So I'll take that to the product team for sure. So let's see. Any other thoughts around that, Chloe?
Um, My only other thing, I'm not sure if this is exactly what was being asked, but if you do, I don't think it was, but it's a good thing for me to point out anyway. If you want to restrict the number of events that people can sign up for, this is something that we can turn on for you, like on our side, on the customer success side, we can turn on event restrictions. And then what you can do is underneath booking settings and event restrictions here, you can limit them to a certain number of registrations by time frame. So, by day or by week or by month. I don't think that's what the question was, but that's just some good information for us to point
Mm-hmm.
out. This is not something that's turned on automatically. So if you want to use event restrictions and you're not seeing that button, you can submit a support ticket to us and we can turn that on for you on the back end.
Yes. Let's see. Are we any closer to the possibility of photos being able to be uploaded by members? Yes. We are. I know that the product team, because I'm married to the guy who does all the product, I know that they are working on allowing members to upload photos. I don't know where that is in the roadmap right now, but I know it's been talked about, so I know that it's coming, Dawn. So yeah, for sure. That's a good question. I know it really does help from like a concierge, like front desk standpoint, being able to see, Chloe's face pop up and then, teaching folks, names and faces. I mean, that's a great front desk.
Mhm.
for sure. All right. Oh, I think we've done it, Chloe. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for all the ideas as well. We're constantly always learning from you, from the club and facility standpoint. We want to make things better, and just excited to be able to do these webinars. Don't forget, we have a couple more coming up this fall. We are also, you guys are kind of the first people to hear this. We were thinking about having another Catalyst CourtReserve user conference here at the end of the year. But I think what we've talked about, and I think Chloe is on the bus with me with this, we're thinking about actually doing 4 to 5 different dates next year around the country. So maybe coming closer to where you guys are instead of maybe having you come to us. Now, I'd love to say it would be exactly in your backyard, but what I would love to do is partner with some facilities who would love to host a Catalyst CourtReserve user conference at their facility. We would definitely need some sort of conference meeting space, all that good technology and a teaching environment so that we could, have people there. So if your facility is interested in maybe hosting one of those next year, please send me an email. It's Ashley, ASHLEY at CourtReserve.com. Pretty easy. Just would really love to. We should come to Toronto, VJ. we should definitely do that. So yeah. So again, if your facility has the requirements that we would need to host, we would love to do that. That would be super special for us. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much. This will be up on the CourtReserve YouTube channel in a couple hours, and we'll see you on the next webinar. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.